As we continue to cover the campaigning of Donald Trump, he is now in Waunakee, Wisconsin, and something's becoming throughout our coverage day to day of these events more and more abundantly clear about these rallies. I said in our discussion of Trump's interview with Kellyanne Conway, if I were a Trump advisor, would advise Trump to just do less stuff, show up publicly less, because it just seems to hurt him, and he's getting worse and worse at doing interviews and doing rallies. Well, these rallies seem to be more and more about just giving Trump a chance to have a little therapy session for himself and ramble on and on about stuff there's just nothing about it that's appealing to a single voter at all. So why you would include it in a campaign speech right before the election, I don't know. But it's about him having a crowd in front of him as he talks about stuff to make him feel better. It really does seem that's the mission here. Because take a look at this clip. Friend of the show, Aaron Rupar, who clipped this, said, Trump has already put his audience to sleep in Wisconsin. Here's a 60-second clip where nobody makes a peep as Trump drones on and on and on and on. And here's the clip.
Don't do that in the military. You take your orders. I said, that's strange. I don't know if that's a good system or bad. In one way, it's good, but in a lot of ways, it's probably bad. I said, so what? Do you know how to do it? Yes, sir, I do. So how long would it take? We've been fighting them for years, and they say it would take 5 years to get rid of them. How long? We can do it in 4 weeks, sir. What? We can knock them out in 4 weeks. I said, 4 weeks? You got to understand, these guys are like central casting. He said he had a drill sergeant that was better looking and tougher than any guy you could ever put into a movie. You know, we've had a couple of them. Have you ever seen where the drill sergeant goes in and he has these actors, big name actors, and he's trying to teach them how to become a drill sergeant. In the movie, he's a drill sergeant. And after about 5 minutes, the actor said, I could never do that. Because it's a different level, okay, of toughness. And one movie, what was that great movie that was made where...
Okay, if you enjoy this show, please do click that subscribe button. Easy, free, simple, but makes all the difference. Back to the video. And we'll pick up there in a second here. But before showing more from Trump's speech, just to contextualize this, the contrast I'm talking about, that's one version of what you can do when you have time in front of an audience in the final days before an election. There's a different vibe at Vice President Harris's rallies.
And in 2 days, I know we will cheer on Coach Walz when he debates J.D. Vance. Yeah. But listen, also, their debate should not be the last word. I'm trying to debate Donald Trump again, and I think he should debate again. The American people have a right to hear us discuss the issues. And as you say here in Las Vegas, I'm all in. I'm all in. Even if my opponent is ready to fold. So there you go.
I know what you're thinking. Well, at other moments, Trump crowds cheer as well. Of course, you're absolutely correct on that. What never happens, though, at Harris rallies is Harris getting completely distracted from the topic she's on and rambling for an extended period of time where the crowd does not engage at all in what she's saying, right? That doesn't happen. There's never a whole minute where you could never tell if you just listen that there's a crowd there. And you'd think Trump would be more efficient and effective in his usage of this valuable time, as I keep saying, given how close we are to this election. And then you have picking up where we left off.
One movie, what was that great movie that was made where a Full Metal Jacket? You know, it's a very, they took somebody from the military, a top drill sergeant, right?
You heard 3 laughs. That was good. They're really riveted now.
Oh, that's good. Stand up. That's great.
There
Full
they
Metal
are.
Jacket, right? He was supposed to get the Academy Award. He should have gotten it, but he actually, honestly, he wasn't acting. But he was unbelievable in that movie. So he was teaching, I don't want to use the names, but big stars. And they couldn't, they were really bad. And then one of the producers came in from one of the big studios, MGM, whatever it was, and he saw this guy saying, do it this way, and he's screaming like crazy. They right in the guy's face as far. And he said, I don't think the actor can do that. Anyway, they end up hiring the guy that was supposed to teach. He went through 5 actors, and every one of them was weak and not believable. And he went through 5, and then the guy sees it. He said, maybe we could get this guy, but nobody ever heard of him.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Why? I've seen MAGA folks waiting in lines when I've gone to these events for hours. Just standing out in the sun, the elements. Why? For that? Then he had this to say.
You should get there based on military victory, not because of that. But you could keep these people like that fought for me so brilliantly. You could put them in a woke cage. We go to woke cage for 2 years, scream at them, only woke stuff. And when they come out, they'll say, let's go USA, let's go MAGA. They'll say, we want MAGA. They won't be convinced.
Oh, is that where we clap? Okay, cool. Now we're back to MAGA.
They won't be convinced. Tommy, they're not going to be woke. I guarantee you. I met them. They're not wokesters.
I thought we had phased out the usage of that term in a negative way as MAGA was obsessing over for some time. Then we get to what is a really sad. I go back to this being a therapy session for Trump. He's been bringing up now for days this other Wisconsin event that he had. Was it Wisconsin or Michigan? Wisconsin. And he keeps bringing up trying to blame Biden-Harris for how small of a room he was in front of. And this event is also a smaller event, which is fine. You can have smaller events. Trump's the one who obsesses so much about crowd sizes. We're just using the metric that he cares so much about. But he now does this thing where he just brings more of a spotlight to something that no one really took note of until he started talking at one rally after another about how that one back there in Wisconsin, the only reason it was such a small room is because there were 50,000 people waiting outside, but they wouldn't be let in because it was too small of a venue.
We were up here on Saturday. We had a group, Tommy, I think it was maybe 50 or 60,000 people. And because we were not afforded the luxury of having enough security not because of Secret Service, but because of Washington, I spoke in front of about 700 people, and 50 or 60,000 people weren't able to see. And I think they still love me, but we have to make sure. We have to make sure. And you know what that was? That was the political opponent saying, we don't want him to have a crowd like that. But
you know how when we'll talk about the theories, the conspiracy theories, the inaccurate claims about Biden weaponizing the Department of Justice against Trump, I'll make as a joke, sort of tongue-in-cheek, I'll say, gosh, MAGA will blame Joe Biden for their own stubbed toe. They'll blame him for anything. In Joe Biden's America, as it seemed Trump was saying, there's flies up on the stage. In Joe Biden's America, everything is terrible, according to them. And here, he's getting closer and closer to actually embodying the joke that I was making and it no longer being a joke, which is him blaming Joe Biden for his own stubbed toe, because he's now saying the reason that he wasn't able to speak in front of the 50 to 60,000 people who were there for him is because Biden forced him into a small venue because his political opponent is trying to weaponize the security to this, that, and the other thing. The crazy thing, though, is number one, there just weren't 50,000 people. He used to say it was 50,000 people, and he spoke in front of a room of 1,000. Now he's saying the room was only 700, and there was 50 to 60,000. So we'll see this stretch the more times that he tells a lie. There just weren't. Not even close. He says this every time, and there's like 100 people outside. And so here, he's arguing that this is a theory, a conspiracy theory, or I should say a conspiracy against him by Biden-Harris, even though they aren't directly involved in the Secret Service planning around Trump, of course, but also, even if they were, wouldn't they be doing the very thing that you were requesting that they do after the 2 attempted assassinations, which is be more strict and mindful of how to keep you safe? So yeah, you can't do these big open outdoor rallies anymore because you have requested and we agree you should be protected properly. And indoor rallies are easier to manage. It's really interesting.
And they were all saying, does anybody know Elon Musk? I said, yeah, I do. I raised my hand. They asked a question. I said, yeah, I know. I said, what's the problem? They said, do you think you could get him to get Starlink, which is amazing stuff, right? Starlink. And I said, I don't know too much about Starlink, but if you want it, we can get it. I called Elon, and they had so many people over there, Tommy. And they were...
This one, I guess, grabbed because of the vague feeling you get anytime Trump talks about topics you know he has no idea about. And then the other thing I find really uninteresting about these rallies increasingly is he just keeps repeating the same stuff, the same jokes. They're supposed to be off the cuff, so it's not when he delivers the same thing off the teleprompter. Okay, that makes sense. That's sort of political speeches. You do that at one place or another. But when he does a joke and it's supposed to be off script, but he keeps repeating the same statements, or in this case, I guess not joke, but just answer he's asking for from the crowd.
By the way, isn't it nice to have a guy that doesn't need teleprompters to tell this stuff? Thanks. You know, I'm going through all these names, and it's not part of my thing. I'm going through all these names.
Yeah, you've been very impressive. Good job, Bubby. And at different points, he talked about how he's always opposed the Iraq war. That's not true. He talked about how he's leading, but he'd cite right-wing polls only, like Rasmussen, and the other normal stuff that you've heard. But I just wanted to focus in on, I think he's losing the crowds. And we talked about that before, but if he doesn't have his superpower of being entertaining enough to get attention on him so then he can push dishonest narratives, then he loses. And Harris's energy and the rallies that she's holding really have taken away that claim to fame for him. Let me know what you thought in the comments.